What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Take 3 podcast. My name is Brendan, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Alex, and we're here on a Thursday afternoon, just a couple hours before Thursday night football, and we're kind of going to be opening up, reviewing week 4 in the NFL. There's some good matchups, some bad matchups. Tonight's game, not really overly exciting, interesting line on the game, considering the amount of guys that are kind of out for the Bengals. Kind of shifted my perspective quite a week along the lines of that game. Obviously, Sunday night, we got Tom Brady going back to Bill Belichick land in New England. Should be a interesting showdown there. And then even Monday night football, a game that really, you look on the scope at the beginning of the season, it doesn't look like it's going to be that interesting a game. And all of a sudden you look at the first place Raiders taking on the Chargers. And even that game kind of built itself into something. So before we really dive into Thursday night football, what do you see on this slate of games for week 4?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this weekend. We get the first of many of the NFC West matchups, and then we get to see some teams face some real competition finally. Denver and Carolina, they looked really good. Now they get their first real test of the season. So I'm pretty excited about this weekend.
Yeah, we got teams that kind of they need a win, they need wins, and then we get to find out about the Panthers, get to find out about the Broncos. I'll even say we get to find out about the Cardinals. They've kind of showed like a two-faced team, dominant week 1, skated by week 2. They're a Jekyll and Hyde type of team. When you go to LA, you're going to play the Rams, you're going to want to be on your A game because I know Sean McVay is going to have those guys ready to go for a division game. So, I mean, let's just get it started. Let's get this game out of the way right off the bat, just so we can kind of move into the week. We got Thursday night football. We got Trevor Lawrence, first overall pick, and the Jags 0-3 start. He's kind of looked like dog shit, if I'm going to be honest. He hasn't looked good. Made some stupid passes. Honestly, I thought they could have beat the Cardinals last week until they ran a flea flicker and he does a jump pass across the field and Byron Murphy picks it for a pick 6. I was like, where did this Trevor Lawrence come from? He's thrown 7 picks through 3 weeks. I don't think he threw 7 picks in his Clemson career, to be honest. Obviously not the same level of competition, but just his decision making doesn't it's not really ideal. He hasn't really looked that great. I mean, if we're going to rip on Zach Wilson and say how bad he's been, as he's been pretty bad, I think it's fair we got to rip on Trevor Lawrence, since he was labeled as this protege, next Andrew Luck, next Peyton Manning quarterback. And then we go to the other side. We got Cincinnati at home. It's a game where they probably should win. Joe Burrow's got the offense rolling. Protection, a little concerning. He gets hit quite a bit. We saw it in the Bears game where they struggled. He threw 3 interceptions, pick 6 to Roquan Smith. He looked sloppy, but then, I mean, we saw him get back on the hump last week, beat the Steelers. That's a good division win when you face the overrated Steelers team. And it seems like he got that connection down with Jamar Chase. It's good to see through 3 weeks that, hey, maybe they did make the right pick at 5. In some cases they didn't, because the protection is still a concern when you face better defenses. But at least he's peppering that guy that they've picked at 5. So, I mean, what do you see when you look at this game on the scope of things?
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be like an all Cincinnati type game. I mean, I think Jacksonville will be competitive for like at least half of the game. They have been so bad. They've just underperformed. Trevor Lawrence has not looked like he was supposed to. He was talked up this whole time to be the most NFL ready quarterback since Andrew Luck. We all know Andrew Luck was pretty damn good. Trevor Lawrence has been really disappointing. The flea flicker pick 6 was inexcusable. It looked really bad. And I don't know what the high points are for Jacksonville, that like what he's improving every week. I guess that's something to hang your hat on. I just don't know what Jacksonville like does at a high level or does really well. And it's not that like Cincinnati's a great team and they're going to like dominate them, but I do expect Cincinnati to win by like 10 points. I mean, I think it's just going to be a lot of Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, just enough offense. And then Jacksonville just hasn't shown that they can really do anything efficiently, consistently throughout the entire game. So it's hard for me to even find like a lot of bright spots for Jacksonville. I expect them to go into Cincinnati and lose.
Yeah, there's not a lot of bright spots for Jacksonville. They've been pretty damn bad. Trevor Lawrence has been pretty bad. Urban Meyer maybe a little overwhelmed through 3 games as a head coach, so a lot different than college football. But I mean, when I look at this game, I look at Thursday nights, short weeks. They're always kind of weird. I'm not really that bought into Cincinnati as a whole yet. I'm not buying a ton of Cincinnati stock. They're not like a powerhouse team where it's like, oh yeah, we're rolling in, dude. No, they don't get a shot to touch this team on Thursday Night Football. The Bengals are still a weird team. We saw how bad they looked against the Bears. We saw honestly, they could be a 1-2 team if a fumble call goes the Vikings way week 1. So it's like the Bengals on the other side, they should win the game, but I don't know if I'm gonna jump on and say, yeah, it's a guaranteed, yeah, they should win by 10 plus points. If Trevor Lawrence doesn't turn the rock over, right? If he kind of slows things down and takes it one play at a time and doesn't try to do too much. I think in a little bit he's tried to do way too much, especially last week with the pick six. There's just no reason to do that in the NFL. If they're able to kind of get him under control and slow things down, I would still expect Cincinnati to win, but I think we'll get a closer game than we thought. On the Bengals side of things, Jesse Bates is out, T. Higgins is out, Awuzie in the secondary is going to be out as well, and then guard Xavier Suafilo will be out as well. So it's already a beat up O-line. They're going to be losing a starting guard, sliding a guy in there. Plus T. Higgins is out, Jesse Bates in the secondary. I just think Thursdays are weird injuries. I think that Jacksonville they can keep close. I don't expect them to win. But when I looked at the line as the injuries kind of mounted up on a short week, I kind of leaned towards the Jags at a +7, to be honest.
Yeah, Jags +7 is not like a wild outcome at all. It's like you said, here's the thing. It's Thursday night. It's short week, two bad teams. This could easily be one of those games where like a lot of weird stuff happens and it's like 28-24 Cincinnati or even 28-24 Jacksonville. It's just one of those games where it's like I'm not very excited about. It's two like not very good teams that just need to improve each week. But I don't know. Jacksonville has just looked so bad through 3 weeks. It's hard for me to like have any confidence in them to even cover the spread right now.
Yeah, I just think it comes down to if Trevor Lawrence can't turn the rock over, right? 7 interceptions for 3 games. If he can somehow cut that down, clean up the decision making. And the Bengals, I just don't think they're that great of a team, although they've looked good, that it could be a closer outcome. I still expect Cincinnati to win. Like Cincinnati should win this football game. I just don't know if it'll be a wide margin. But I mean, let's get the hell out of Cincinnati. Let's go to Sunday where we finally got some real teams playing some football. We're going to start off in Dallas, a matchup kind of I'm excited for both sides, right? Because Carolina's 3-0 up to this point. Sam Darnold, fresh face. Matt Rule and Joe Brady, they kind of got him doing his thing. He was peppering DJ Moore last week. I kind of need him to pepper Robbie Anderson this week. He had that connection, kind of help out my fantasy team. Sam Darnold, especially Christian McCaffrey out, Chuba Hubbard, he was eating on the ground. So I mean, this game, when you sit back and look at it, it's kind of a test for both teams. We kind of get to find out a lot about, is Carolina really what we think they are? Are they a real 3-0 team, or they kind of, they got to play the Texans, fluke win against the Saints. And then obviously, I mean, everybody beats the Jets. They had a Jets game week 1. And then, I mean, even on the other side of the ball, we get to find out more about Dallas. They've looked great with the running game, the 2 backs, Ezekiel Elliott and what's his name? Tony Pollard, my bad. And then obviously the receivers, Dak Prescott's look great. And we get to find out, another week, will this secondary force another 2 turnovers? Can this defense squeeze out more turnovers? Because they're kind of living and dying by that right now. And it's super interesting. So, I mean, who do you like in this matchup? Where do you see this game going? I think it's going to be super close. I'm kind of excited to find out if we're going to get a real deal. Like, will one of these teams prove themselves to be a real contender in the NFC?
Yeah, I think this is a super fun matchup. I think it's going to be pretty close. Sam Darnold's done well not turning the ball over this year, and Carolina's defense has played very, very good through 3 weeks. I think they are like top 5 for run defense, and their secondary has been pretty good too. So it's like they beat the Jets, the Saints, and then the Texans. So it's like 2 opponents weren't very good, and then the Saints have been very hit and miss. So that Saints game was weird. They won 26-7. So it looks like the Panthers are a pretty damn good team. I just love the matchup against Dallas because Dallas is like their first really good team test. I mean, I want to say it's New Orleans, but New Orleans looks so bad they weren't ready to play. So I throw that game out entirely. It's just interesting to see because you're like, what bends or breaks first? Does Dallas not get turnovers, or does Sam Darnold finally turn the ball over and give the ball back to Dallas? So like that, those are kind of bend not break. That'll be interesting to see. And then Dallas's run game. We saw week 1 that it was kind of shut down against the Buccaneers, and they did a lot of those screen passes, just getting the ball out wide to the right away from the D line. It's going to be interesting to see if they do a similar strategy against Carolina, or they're going to just try and do the 2-headed attack with Zeke and Pollard and see if they can just run on this stout D line. And if not, just have Dak throw it to CD, Cooper, and the boys 30, 40 times. That's a pretty good recipe too. So it's like just 2 really good teams. I think the spread is Carolina +4. I like the points for Carolina just because I think it'll be a close game. But honestly, I think this is one of those games that just comes down to whoever makes the least amount of mistakes in doesn't turn the ball over, and then maybe even whoever gets the ball last. I think it's gonna be a very close game. I'm very excited for this one. I lean towards the Panthers, and I also have a bias against Dallas, to be fair. So I lean Carolina.
Yeah, I think it comes down to what defense can kind of force something. Obviously, the Panthers secondary loses J.C. Horn probably for the year. I think he broke his foot last year, or not.
Yeah.
I say last year, last Thursday night. Took a misstep. That was kind of weird. People thought it was the Achilles. Turned out to be a broken foot. But then they go out this week and just absolutely fleece Urban Meyer for C.J. Henderson. I don't know if he probably will be starting. Honestly, got a full week of practice, so he'll probably be out there. Interesting thing with the Panthers run defense: 51 carries against, only $135 allowed on the ground. I found that super interesting. I don't know how much credence I can put in that. It's like the Jets, like terrible O line, kind of not really a real scheme with a rookie QB, and then obviously they played the Texans, who didn't really do much, and then obviously the Saints game they got so far ahead that the Saints really weren't going to run the football. But yeah, I think it comes down to what defense can kind of force the other's hands. And then we'll find out if the Panthers have a real run defense, right? They're going to face, the Dallas is going to get that old running going. They kind of look sort of like the Dallas of 2 years ago or 3 years ago, where they pound the rock, pound the rock, pound the rock, and then it just frees up the weapons, and then they'll kill you. They can kill you through the air whenever you want, right? Like CD Lamb, Amari Cooper, Schultz at tight end, even Pollard out of the backfield. They have so many weapons on the offensive side that it kind of, I'm more interested to see if Sam Darnold can, if he's the real deal, or will he kind of go back to his New York Jets days where he turns the rock over one too many times, or maybe even just one time that costs them the game, which Dallas's secondary seems to be doing a damn good job of. But on the flip side, if he doesn't, Sam Darnold, it seems like, the Cowboys secondary is letting up the most yards. They're just finding a way to get takeaways, which is it's pretty remarkable to see a team get gouged that much, but then somehow find ways to get interceptions and win games. So it really comes down to, for me, Sam Darnold. Will he see ghosts? Can Dan Quinn get that defense attacking him and confuse him? And I'd be a little bit more excited if Christian McCaffrey was playing, because that's just another dynamic out of the backfield that Dan Quinn would have to scheme up for, and probably have to have Jalen Smith or Leighton Vander Esch be ready to attack him out of the backfield. But I think it'll be super interesting. I think when I went through this, I kind of leaned the Cowboys. I kind of trust Dak Prescott a little bit more than I trust Sam Darnold. And to this point, Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore for the Cowboys they've impressed me on both sides of the ball with their scheme.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. And just to me, it just comes down to something's got to give, right? Does Dallas's defense continue to get takeaways for a fourth week in a row? Or does Sam Darnold continue to not turn the ball over for the fourth week in a row? Something's got to give there, right? So I think that's the key. And just Dallas's offense is just too impressive. I think if Carolina's D-line plays very well, which they're capable of, and shuts down the run game, Dallas will just throw the ball and still be efficient and still score. So to me, it's all about, will Sam Darnold turn the ball over or not? To me, it's all about the turnovers between Carolina's offense and Dallas's defense.
Yep, that's what these games come down to. I also didn't realize that the Panthers secondary is the least passing yards in the league. So it'll be interesting with J.C. Horn out to see how they kind of navigate and deal with CD Lamb and Amari Cooper out there. It's kind of waiting for that Amari Cooper kind of explosion that kind of happens out of nowhere, the 13 catches for $170 and 2 touchdowns type of day, which they've kind of got away from. But let's move it on. Another interesting matchup, late afternoon game out in LA. The Rams got another home one. I think this could arguably be one of my favorites on the slate, to be honest. I love watching Kyler Murray. And then on the other hand, I kind of like watching the Rams evolve as a team with Sean McVay. But we got the 3-0 Cardinals visiting the 3-0 Los Angeles Rams. I think this week we'll get to find out really who the Cardinals are more than we'll find out who the Rams are. Regardless of what happens, I kind of still like the Rams down the road in the NFC, but we've kind of seen the Cardinals become this Jekyll and Hyde team where they look great week one, smoke the heads off the Titans, and then they come out, barely win a game against the Vikings. Honestly, probably shouldn't have won a game against the Vikings. Guys are missing 35-yard field goals in the NFL now. Kind of embarrassing, but we see them skate by and they get a win. And they're just a weird team. And I think it'll be interesting to see if Kyler Murray, if he won't try to force things. I've seen him, especially in that Vikings game, force the ball downfield a little bit too much, which you can't really do when you're facing Jalen Ramsey, when you have Aaron Donald pressing you, Leonard Floyd from the outside, when you got that Rams defense coming at you, you don't really want to take those risks. You want to play it smart. So I'm interested to see if Cliff Kingsbury can kind of dial him in to a point where, hey, you can still be aggressive, but let's be smart and be aggressive at the same time and not take risks. As number 5 in blue and gold, we know what he does on the outside. So, I mean, what do you see when you look at the Rams and the Cardinals meeting up?
Yeah, to me, this game is all about Arizona. Which Cardinals team is going to show up, and are they going to be consistent enough defensively to get it done? Because they've been gashed on the ground quite a bit. They have not been good against running backs, and Sean McVay will definitely run the ball down your throat if you allow him to. So it's like the Rams, like I said during last week, and then the week 3 recap, they're just such a good team. They have just such strong defensive and offensive units. If they were to lose this game, I wouldn't feel like I wouldn't lose any confidence in the Rams. I just feel really good about that team moving forward, and I do think they win on Sunday. To me, it's about the Cardinals. Like, there's a lot of question marks there. They were really hot last year, just like halfway through the year, and then kind of simmered down and didn't have a great ending to the season. And then you kind of nailed it when you talked about Kyler kind of pushing the ball down the field or being slightly too aggressive at times. I think Kyler just is such a dynamic player, and he makes offense happen so easily. At the times when it's not really clicking, he gets kind of frustrated, I feel like, and he wants to just push the ball down the field. And you might be able to get away with that against Jacksonville, Minnesota, but the Rams will certainly make you pay. So to me, this is all about if hopefully the Cardinals defense can play a little bit better against the run. And then if the offense comes clicking on all cylinders, because if they come clicking on all cylinders, they can 100% win this game. I think it'll be a fun, close division matchup. But the Rams, I just think, are a slight step ahead. They're just a really, really good team this year.
Yeah, I think, Kyler Murray at times he tries to be like a mini Mahomes, right? He tries to do special things. And hey, at times, yeah, when you're playing the Jacksonville Jags, who have high schoolers out there, I mean, you can go out there and you can find that play. But when you're facing Jalen Ramsey and you have Aaron Donald and a well-coached defense and a well-coached football team as a whole, you can't really take those risks. Like those type of risks, that one interception or that one fumble or anything that you do wrong swings the momentum. And then a team like the Rams, they're just going to capitalize on it. They're too smart. And yeah, it just comes down to I trust Sean McVay a hell of a lot more than I trust Cliff Kingsbury coaching their teams up, preparing for a game of this magnitude. And I just think the Cardinals, they're long overdue for an absolute dud of a week. So although I hope this is a close battle, like I really would like it. I hate when the games are a blowout and it's like the late game of the week where it's hyped up and there's nothing really to turn to outside of this game. So I'd like it to be close, but I think the Cardinals are just due for a dud of a week at some point, and this could potentially be one where it's really their first test, but it's a big one. I mean, we'll find out if the Cardinals, just like the Panthers, we'll find out if the Cardinals are a real team in the NFC and a real team in the NFC West, which seems to be stacked up till this point.
For sure. And Arizona looks so good week 1, and they kind of just escaped week 2 and 3. So like, if they go in with that same type of energy week 2 and 3, you don't play like a full 60 minutes ready to go, they'll go home with an L.
Yeah, comes down to decision making, and also Matt Stafford as well. He's been in the league long enough, and kind of trust him a little bit more than I trust Kyler Murray too in a crunch time type of game to make a smart throw or just even throwing the ball away and not trying to do too much. But let's head out to this another late afternoon one. It's another interesting one. I think we got the Baltimore Ravens as the underdogs heading into the Mile High Denver Broncos, another 3-0 kind of surprised undefeated 3-0 squad with Teddy Bridgewater at the helm. And we kind of seen the Ravens for 2 weeks in a row kind of skirt by. Obviously, we watched them lose Monday night, got gassed out Monday night, week 1 of the year against the Raiders. And then we kind of saw what happened unfolded at home on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs. The Chiefs kind of made their mistakes, which allowed Lamar to do his thing and really mow them down on the ground. And then obviously the last week was last week. The Lions found, it's kind of unfair to the Lions to say the Lions found a way to lose. But I mean, Justin Tucker had a 66-yard game winning field goal and kind of propels them to 2-1. Those are kind of big things just to get wins. I mean, find a way. I hate to say it that way. And then Denver side of the ball, they're 3-0, but I mean, when you look at they're 3-0, but their opponents are 0-9. So it's like, it's kind of weird. It's really hard to judge. Yeah. How good are the Denver Broncos? because when you play that level, right? When you play Jets, Giants, and man, I forget the other team. But when you play teams that are that bad,
Jaguars.
yeah, the Jags too. So yeah, when you play three joke franchises, like it's hard to judge them. And I think when you go into this game at home against the Ravens, a game opponent with Lamar, we'll really get to find out how good their defense is. We'll get to find out what Teddy Bridgewater has in a big game, even though it's week 4. Like this is it's a pretty pivotal matchup for them to really a benchmark. And yeah, it's interesting. We'll kind of find out a lot about both of these teams going forward because we'll find out if Baltimore kind of has it down and if they can go forward, and we'll see if Denver can actually be a contender in the AFC. It's weird to say Denver being a contender in the AFC, to be honest, with Teddy Bridgewater. But how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, this is like actually my favorite matchup of the week because there's just a lot to figure out here. It's a 1 point spread. It's in Denver, which I definitely think favors the Broncos, obviously. But to me, it's like playing in Mile High is hard with the elevation and the altitude. But Denver, yeah, 3-0, but opponents are 0-9. It makes them hard to figure out. Their defense is pretty damn good. Teddy doesn't turn the ball over and he's pretty consistent. But I like the Ravens. The Ravens 2-1. They blew the Monday night game to open the season. The Chiefs made mistakes, but they hung in there. They were resilient. They killed a demon. They finally beat the Chiefs. And then the Lions, they just figure out a way to win. I know it was a 66-yard field goal, but like Lamar converted a really big 4th down on that drive to get him down into field goal range and kick that. So like, to me, I just want to lean Baltimore because they've just been so resilient and they've had a lot of injuries already so far, and they just come in and week out. And Lamar's been very good. He's shown me something. He's thrown the ball well. He's led him to wins. I don't know. Just in the past, he figured out a way to lose that Lions game and that Chiefs game. And yeah, they did kind of bounce his way, but I just like what I've seen from Baltimore so far. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think Denver is actually pretty legit. They'll show people this weekend that they're a pretty damn good team. And if they beat Baltimore, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I'm just personally slightly leaning Baltimore just because I like Lamar Jackson a lot, and they've just shown a lot. They've been really resilient this year, and they just kind of have figured out how to win so far. So I don't know. I really like when teams consistently get close, tough wins. It kind of says something about the team. So for that reason, I'm leaning Baltimore. But I think it's going to be a really close game.
Yeah, I like Denver's defense quite a bit. I think they're going to have to lean on it a little bit more than the offense. Obviously, KJ Hamler tore his ACL. I believe Jerry Judy is still out with the high ankle sprain. So they're kind of the weapons are running out, like the weapons in the preview that we kind of highlighted. And we're excited about to see them work with. They're diminishing. They still have Noah Fant, obviously, and Alberto at tight end, who's a exciting guy. But now they're down to Cortland Sutton. Like they're kind of running out. They're running out of guys. They still have Melvin Gordon in the backfield, but I think they're going to have to lean heavy on that defense. And yeah, Denver just finds ways. Denver always, they find a way to like win a game at home that they probably shouldn't win. I don't know if it's the altitude. It probably is, right? The altitude kind of changes how teams fatigue, right? We saw a team like the Raiders, or not the Raiders, the Ravens week 1 get gassed out. And I just don't know how are they going to react when they go up to altitude and have to play at that level. And we see them tire out. Also in the running game, we know the Ravens like to run the hell out of the football. Will they fatigue more in that? But I mean, it's interesting to see. I'm interested to see if Teddy can manage with the weapons diminishing, and if the Broncos defense can really live up to kind of what they've been able to do. As Lamar seems to break schemes, right? He's able to do so much. He's so fast on the ground. And he's adding in jump passes, and he's even throwing the rock around a little bit, which is it's exciting to see that kind of evolution since their entire backfield died out. He's kind of putting more on his shoulders in a pretty much a contract year for him. So I expect it to be close. I just lean Denver because they always seem to squeeze out a win at home that they shouldn't win. And yeah, I think the Ravens, they've kind of been skirting by the past couple weeks.
I like that. I like that we're on opposite sides of this. It's going to be really close. To the point of the Ravens defense, like kind of gassing out, which they 100% did. They did not look good in the fourth quarter and overtime against the Raiders. I do think covering this injured Denver offense is easier than covering that Raiders offense right now. The Raiders offense has been lighting it up as well. And then for the Broncos, yeah, they're on, just to play devil's advocate, they're running out of weapons, but they got the 2 running backs, Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. I think they want to run them a lot. I mean, they had 30 touches between the 2 last week. So, like, if they can do that and just intermediate throws for Teddy, Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, it's enough to get it done. I like Baltimore slightly, but once again, going to be really fun, super competitive game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can get them going. The Ravens up until this point have a top 10 defense against the run this year, so it'll be interesting to see if the Ravens. I mean, I always know Harbaugh has his guys ready to go. Right, he's a veteran head coach, so I'm going to assume that both teams will be ready to rock, and we'll see how it goes. I expect a close one though. I mean, the line dictates. Yeah, this is going to be one hell of a game. Like, it's going to be close. I don't know if it'll be pretty, but we'll have a battle. So let's move on. Sunday Night Football, probably, arguably, maybe the most like storyline. It's probably the only time in these PowerPoints I will ever put a head coach in the in the picture as like the preview. But I just think it's like fitting, right? Because this entire like it's not even Tampa Bay. I shouldn't even have put Tampa Bay at New England. I should put Tom Brady at Bill Belichick, because that's really what like the narrative of this football game is, right? Like Tom Brady, Sunday Night Football, returns in New England for the first time, road colors. He's had some interesting words. Like he's just thinking of it as a game, right? He's not even really, he doesn't care about going back to New England. He's kind of, in a sense, erased the 20 years of Patriots football out of his mind, and he's only focused on being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, going into New England, and getting a W. Obviously, coming off of a tough loss last week to the Rams. And then on the other side, New England, Bill Belichick, you know that man. I mean, just look at the look in his eyes in the picture. He would love nothing other than to upstage Tom Brady in his return to New England and steal a game from the Bucks. Tampa's favored by 7. I was kind of like concerned and kind of on the fence about the line, but the more I thought about it, I was like, dude, Tom Brady's really going to come in and just try to shove it to this guy. Antonio Brown's back. He's off the COVID list. So that adds another one of Tom Brady's favorite targets. And I know even Antonio Brown would like to stick it to the Patriots. Obviously, he played one game with them 2 years ago, caught a touchdown in Miami. And then obviously his off the field issues was released like a week later. So I think you have two guys they're ready to go. Tom Brady, he's ready to stick it to Bill Belichick. It's interesting to see will they shake hands, like all the storylines into this game. It's definitely the most intriguing, even though on the field it might not even be a competitive game, but just everything surrounding it is so intriguing. Yeah, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, the last point you just said basically nailed it for me. On the field, it might not be a competitive game, but it's super intriguing. Just so much drama and storylines here. I know Tom wants to beat the brakes off the Patriots. I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick would sell his soul to beat Tom Brady and win this game. But I just think it's going to be all Buccaneers. They're a better football team. I felt better about the Patriots before last week, before seeing Jameis and the Saints go in there and kick their ass without throwing the ball very much. It doesn't instill a lot of confidence for me with the Buccaneers coming to town. And I know Tom's going to want to just throw a lot and score a lot. Like this is definitely a very personal game for him. All the little articles are coming out about how their relationship deteriorated and they said goodbye on the phone. It wasn't even in person when Tom left. You know, just little things that are now coming out through the woodworks. It's just making the storyline more interesting, more fun. But I just think it's going to be a big Buccaneers game. Big game for Tom, Gronkowski, AB. I just think there's going to be a lot of points scored for Tampa Bay. I think they cover the spread and they cover it pretty easily. New England's no joke. It's a Bill Belichick team. They're playing at home, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in them. The Saints went in there and kicked their ass. I don't see why Tampa Bay can't go in there and kick their ass. Not to mention, Tom doesn't lose back-to-back much. So them losing in LA last week, I think just lights a little bit more of a fire, if that's even possible for this game.
Yeah, Tom's gonna be ready to go. This almost feels like, I don't know, like Floyd Mayweather fighting Conor McGregor. It's like this is more of it's a spectacle almost, but it's like, hey, this could be interesting for a quarter, a couple of possessions, but then eventually we expect the better side to kind of take over. Yeah, the Patriots, they concern me, right? Their running game really, I mean, hasn't been that great. And with a rookie quarterback, you really want to be able to establish the run game. They've only mustered up 275 yards. I believe it's a bottom 10 rushing unit. Obviously, when you get down in games, it's kind of you got to throw the ball, but it's like I would like to see them be able to establish the run. But then we know what Vita Vea and those guys up front for the Bucks, you can't really attack that way. So it's kind of going to be on Mac Jones' shoulders and really on Josh McDaniels. He's kind of been unimpressive through, I don't know, I'll be honest, probably 3 games. Like he really hasn't been that impressive calling plays, scheming things up for Mac Jones to kind of succeed. But yeah, I'm right with you. Like Tom Brady, he's ready to go. The relationship story is kind of interesting. It was kind of started to leak out towards the end when he was about to, once the season ended, and it was kind of assuming, Tom Brady's out and the way the contract was set up. But their relationship kind of deteriorated. It'll be interesting to see if they embrace at all, either before the game or even after the game. But I'm pretty comfortable with Tampa Bay covering the 7. I would say could arguably a 17-point win. Like that's somewhere in the margin where I would expect. But Mac Jones, I mean, he has a shot. Obviously, we've seen how shitty Tampa Bay's secondary is. So if they can get him protection and find ways for him to get guys loose, Nelson Aguilar loose, maybe get the tight ends, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith down the field. This would be a great game to have like James White out of the backfield. Obviously, hip injury, he's out for the year. To have a guy like that kind of to just stress out that Buccaneers defense was already thin when they're bringing in Richard Sherman to kind of patch up the secondary. But I just don't see any way. I mean, New England, they'll have shots to score points, but Tampa Bay is just they're going to overwhelm them. It'll be interesting to see if Tampa Bay can get any type of run game going, if they're going to go pass heavy again. So obviously through 3 games, they've struggled mightily on the ground. But I don't think it'll matter as much, but it's just interesting to see for them going forward with their style of football.
Yeah, Tampa's run game is so hot and cold, very hit and miss. I also think it's one of those weeks where Tom wouldn't mind throwing every possession just to like give it to him. Obviously, I mean, every down. Obviously, they're not going to do that, but and then the actual football standpoint, New England's supposed to like pride themselves on running the football and the 2 tight end sets, but they couldn't run anything against the Saints. Mac Jones ended up throwing the ball 51 times, 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. You'll probably have a similar stat line, I would think, on Sunday, because running into Vita V and the boys in that D line, like that's not going to work well for them. If like they couldn't really run on the Saints, I don't really see how they run on the Bucks. So the Bucks secondary is not great, but if they can get pressure on Mac Jones, look, you never want a rookie quarterback throwing it 51 times. And now with all the storylines and all the drama on the side, and then just from a football standpoint, you're playing a team that stops the run really well. It just doesn't really look good for New England.
That's what I was saying. Preview. I told you I wasn't buying in New England. Tom Brady made that team, and it's kind of it's unraveling. We're kind of seeing it through 3 weeks that you can spend a bunch of money in free agency, but it doesn't really equate. I think they kind of they're putting a lot on Mac Jones to throw the rock 50 times a game, which is that's not Patriot style of football, right? So that's where I'm saying Josh McDaniels be better, scheme something up, do something, and they haven't up till this point. So.
Oh, I agree entirely. And if you go watch like 01-02 Patriots, they held Tom back a lot. He just kind of ran the offense. He wasn't out there throwing 51 times.
Exactly. But hey, Sunday night we might see Tom throw 51 times. So it'll be a fun one. Let's move on to the final game of the week. Monday Night Football, surprising game. It's kind of, as I mentioned at the beginning of this thing, it's not one where you look at the schedule 3-4 weeks ago and think it's going to be like, this is going to be this matchup. Like you probably say, the Raiders will be 0-3. They might be 1-2 if they're lucky. Voice kind of goes, they'll be 1-2 if they're lucky. They're 3-0. They beat the Ravens, squeak one out against the Dolphins, and then I'm literally drawing a blank on the in-between W. But they're 3-0. Chargers 2-1. Obviously, they got cheated against the Cowboys. So put an asterisk next to 2-1. They could arguably be 3-0 if the refs didn't kind of throw on their Dallas blue. But it's gonna be a good matchup. Like Derek Carr's been electric this year. He's kind of been everything. We kind of insulted the Raiders. Obviously, their O-line losses. I guess it really didn't matter when Derek Carr's gonna kind of come out and do this. Obviously, beating the Dolphins' backup quarterback Jacoby Brissett in overtime last week was kind of maybe we're starting to see kinks that the Raiders aren't really a real team, but a win's a win at the end of the day. And then on the other side of the ball, Justin Herbert, that defense, they go into Arrowhead Stadium, knock off Patrick Mahomes to push them to 2-1. I've been impressed with Justin Herbert through 3 games. I was impressed with him a lot last year. And he has evolved. He's so smooth in the pocket. He never panics back there. He senses pressure so well, knows when to step up. And with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, and Jared Cook even out there, they just have the weapons. The defense is healthy. So I expect a good game in LA it's funny for a second day in a row, right? Because this game will also be hosted at the same stadium as the Rams Cardinals. So, I mean, what do you see? It's kind of a benchmark game. We'll find out about the Raiders quite a bit.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really fun. A division rival. I think a lot of points are going to be scored, and I think it's going to be super close. I do like the Raiders +3, but I would take the Chargers money line. I just like the Raiders getting points on the road just because it's a division game. They played really well. The offense has been really good. I think it'll be close. But I'm just curious about the Raiders. They got the overtime win week 1 and an overtime win last week against the Dolphins, and then they beat the Steelers pretty easily. But I don't know. I gave the Ravens credit for squeaking out wins, but now I'm questioning the Raiders. So I see the hypocrisy there. It's to me, it's more of like the Raiders of the past. You've seen them start hot with John Gruden and then kind of fizzle out. So maybe this is a year where they put it all together and they're a better team. I like this game for fantasy purposes and lots of points. I have a hard time figuring out like who's going to actually win. I lean the Chargers money line, but I would take the Raiders to cover the points. That's like a very tough little window to hit. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Like just from a fan perspective, I think it's going to be a lot of points, a really fun game to watch. And I think this is one of those games that might have huge implications on the playoffs down the road. Because then if the Raiders win, you're talking 4-0 and they get a nice little lead on the division. It's going to be interesting to see if Denver wins on Sunday where they sit. I'm going to assume the Chiefs get back to 500 at 2-2. So this is a really competitive division. And this game might actually matter a lot for the playoff standings.
It's kind of a stark contrast of it comes down to really one thing for me, and it's really Derek Carr attacking the Chargers defense. Chargers as of right now have a top 10 defense against the pass, at least yardage wise. They've only allowed 605 yards to the air through 3 games. And we know what Derek Carr and John Gruden's offense likes to do. I mean, Derek Carr is leading the league in passing yards I think he has, what is it? I think 1,200.
1,200.
Yeah, 1,200. So, I mean, we know, what the Raiders are looking to do. And he's going to go attack a secondary that's been pretty damn good. They kind of bottled up Dak Prescott. It was impressive. They were able to force turnovers against Patrick Mahomes, which is a better quarterback than Derek Carr. No offense to Derek Carr, but the obvious is the obvious. They just found ways once again to force turnovers. I think it's a tough matchup, and we kind of saw with the Raiders squeaking out a W. We've kind of seen maybe a kink in the armor going into a division game. That hey, this style of football, we might want to run the ball a little bit to kind of set up the play actions, kind of get everything going. I like the Chargers. I think if I had to pick a score, I'd say like 24. I don't know, maybe 27-21. I was going to say 24-14, but garbage time touchdowns, obviously. So somewhere in that range, I expect to get a 7 or 10 point win for the Chargers. I think they're better coached. They'll find a way to squeeze a turnover or two out of Derek Carr. I think we'll kind of see Derek Carr and the Raiders kind of come a little bit back down to life. But I mean, they've been impressive through 3 games. So you got to give them credit that they're winning more games than we kind of predicted going into the season. But I just think the better quarterback with Justin Herbert, kind of the more composed, and I like Brandon Staley to have that defense ready to attack Derek Carr and kind of force turnovers out of him that we haven't seen through 3 games.
Yeah, I'm basically right there with you. I just think the game will be closer in general. I just think we're going to continue Justin Herbert's coming out party of being like the next young great quarterback. He beat Patrick Mahomes last week, and I think he'll Monday night beat the division leading 3-0 Raiders, which is kind of weird to say, but and then he'll be 3-1 and probably on top of his division and say, hello, I'm here. Like Justin Herbert is very, very good. Him and Mahomes being in the same division is super, super fun. That's probably going to be a long rivalry, hopefully. And yeah, I think it's going to be really close. Raiders for the spread, Chargers money line. That's a really tough window to hit, but that's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, Herbert's he's so smooth back there. He does everything that you'd kind of want, and he's mobile too, right? He can get out of there. That's why it's kind of crazy looking back at it now, where a team said, "Yeah, I wouldn't pick Justin Herbert. He's weird." And yeah, how weird is he? He's pretty damn good. You can be weird, but yeah, if you can throw the football around and make smart decisions like he does on a week-to-week basis, yeah, I'm impressed. But yeah, that really wraps it up for the slate of games that we're going to cover with Monday Night Football. We'll jump now into kind of our picks, where we went for week 4, picking every game, minus the Eagles for us, and then the Patriots for our buddy John. Since we do not pick our favorite teams' games, let's jump into it. We kind of got our spread picks. These are our week 4 picks, records at the top. Obviously, last week 11-4 week jumps you to the top of the standings. With some work to be done. Any games on here where you're kind of like, yeah, this is the lock of the week for me?
Packers 6.5 against the Steelers. I've come on this show every single week and talk about how bad the Steelers offense is. And I definitely think Green Bay wins by more than a touchdown.
There you go. Mine kind of is a weird one. I'm going Lions +3. I love it. Like I would bet I like the Lions +3. I like the Lions. Obviously, you get more money in the value in the money line. They're at a plus right now, I would assume. But yeah, the Bears O line sucks. Matt Nagy sucks. He doesn't seem confident in Justin Fields. I've heard maybe Nick Foles will come out and play. I just don't like they are falling apart. Like Matt Nagy could get. It's great. He should be axed. It's pretty wild. And then I also like Rams -4 as well. I think they'll be able to capitalize. Kyler Murray will turn the ball over 1 or 2 times, and the Rams will be able to score off that and kind of spread themselves out a little bit. But it's just interesting slates. Like we're learning about these teams more and more, and yeah, that's where we're going.
Yeah, I like that. I really like Lions +3 because the Bears have been abysmal and the Lions have been competitive in all their games. I'm assuming this is a week I don't do well because I did well last week, and I actually feel good about most of these picks. So clearly they're going to be wrong. But yeah, Bucks, Packers, and Titans all by 7, just because their opponents, the Pats, the Steelers, and then the Jets. Nah.
Oh yeah, the same thing. I went with the Saints as well, 7.5. Kind of a weird one. I don't love it, but dude, I'm not doing the Giants thing. Not doing the Giants thing.
I took the Giants. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm not doing the Giants. Then yeah, obviously I followed up with the Bucks. They're just better. Titans, man, they better be able to beat the Jets by 7. They better be able to beat the Jets by 10 points. Like, come on, guys. The Jets are doing their thing. Yeah, that's really it for the spread picks. Any kind of thing to wrap up? Any other intriguing matchups that kind of you're excited for going into this that we didn't really cover as we kind of close this thing up?
The only one that comes to mind is I took Vikings +2 against the Cleveland Browns. I think that's going to be a really fun, competitive game, which could go either way.
Yeah, I like that one as well. Yeah, we went Vikings. I think we both matched on that. Yeah, I like, it's crazy to say. I like where Kirk Cousins is at. He's kind of been pretty damn good for them. And they've kind of had some unfortunate, the fumble thing against the Bengals, and then the defense. Actually, not even really the defense and the field goal kicker, like that costs you games as well. And then we also have, we didn't really cover Seahawks 49ers, another interesting one. NFC West Seahawks, they kind of desperately need a win. You don't want to be 1-3 in that division. Chasing one of the 2 teams at the top is going to be 4-0, so it gets super dicey if they were to lose. And obviously we saw the 49ers haven't really been that impressive, although they're 2-1. So I mean, that's going to be a wrap for today's show. Thank you everybody for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you have any suggestions, as we'd love to hear your feedback, suggestions, anything. Drop it in the comments below. We try to respond if there is a comment. I've seen a couple and have got back to them. I appreciate all those comments. As always, Spotify link if you're audio only will be dropped in the description, as it will be uploaded at the same time as this is uploaded. And yeah, once again, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be at it next week, next Tuesday, for the recap of week 4. Let's have a good week in the NFL.